It's those moments. It's those moments when you're up against that mental talk in your head or something that's really difficult to encounter, whether it's in your business life or your personal life, and you hit that wall and you don't know if you can do it. And despite the obstacles, despite the opposition, despite everything that feels like it's weighing on your shoulders, you make that decision that you're going to cringe forward, that you're going to move past the fear that you have, the uncertainty, and you're going to do it anyway. And if you're going through that right now, this message is for you. If you know someone who's encountering something difficult right now, it's for you. And most importantly, I'm excited to have Jasmin Murphy with me today to be able to share a little bit more about who she is and what she's done. She's said about her journey to lose over 200 pounds naturally and to show the world that it doesn't matter your shape or size, but you can cringe forward and embrace who you are on social media and use the power of who you are to impact the lives of other people. I'd like you to be able to meet my friend Jasmin and welcome her here with me today. Let me unmute your mic here. Hey, Jasmin.
Good morning. Hi, how are you?
I am doing a little bit better. I know that we spoke before we went live and I was having a day. And I know a lot of other people can relate to that. There's some days where we're like, yes, I've got this. I'm on top of the world. I rock. I'm amazing. And then there's others where that self doubt has a tendency to creep in, even if we've been doing something for a long time. Have you ever encountered that?
Oh my gosh, all the time. All the time.
So,
Yeah.
what do you do to deal with it?
It depends on what it is and where I'm at. Um, and something that I've realized recently is that well, I've always known that the words that we speak to ourselves like hold tremendous amount of power, right? And so
Hmm.
I've been practicing the words that I speak to myself for several years now. And I always say if I wouldn't say these things to my children or the people that I love the most, then why would I say them to myself, right? And sometimes that's still really challenging. So, from one of the things that I've been practicing recently is really sitting back and looking at everything that I've accomplished, like trying to pull myself out of the picture frame and look at it as if I am standing in the gallery observing, right? And looking
Love
at what
that.
I've truly accomplished and what I've done and how I've done it. I think that we, from a very young age, most people, not all people, but most people, a theme that has been present in our lives is to be just resoundingly humble and this kind of ingrained humility. And what I find happens is that we honor that to a fault, to the point
Hmm.
that anytime we say, oh, I'm doing good, we feel like it's braggadocious, that it's negative, that, it's a bad thing to say, hey, I'm really good at this, right? And I had a conversation not too long ago with someone, and it was the first time that I said out loud, I'm freezing at this. And
To
it
be
was
able to own
probably
your
the most,
greatness and what it is that you're doing and acknowledging that. I think, especially as women, the culture of like, you know, be seen and not heard, even though we're a lot
yeah,
past that and we've had the right to vote for quite some time now, there's that tendency to diminish our value and worth because we don't want to seem like we're bragging or tooting our
yeah,
own horn. And as an entrepreneur, that's something that's important so that it helps build trust in what it is that we do.
yeah. Say that we've had these rights and things have changed and it's been that way for a really long time. But when you think about it, we still have generations living that experienced that walked through that change. And so it's not really that long ago. When your great grandmother remembers what it was like to not have access to, my grandmother remembers what it was like to not be able to open a bank account without my grandfather's permission, like legally. So it's not that long ago. So we're undoing all these things, right? And sometimes it takes reaching out to other people and hearing other people edify you and tell you, you're amazing.
Oh, definitely. I
You're
agree. And
absolutely
having surrounding yourself, I know you mentioned earlier that words have power and choosing to
yeah,
surround yourself with people. I know that I surround myself with you, other people in our mastermind program, our coaches, because it makes a difference when someone
Yeah.
speaks that into you when you're having those moments of doubt and everything like that. So tell me a little bit about what made you decide to be able to share your story with other people and empower them to be able to take that same journey with you.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know that I really decided.
Really?
It
Really?
was, yeah, it was, so I had fallen outside of my kids' school across the street, and I couldn't get up. I was roughly 718 pounds. I was like at my heaviest and at my lowest personally. I just experienced two really tragic losses. My best friend and my cousin within a week of each other, and like it was just a really difficult time. We were bouncing back from a recession. We had just come out of being homeless, like living in a hotel. Me, my husband, my two children, like it was a whole thing. And so in that moment, there were some parents that came across the street that saw what happened and asked if they could help me up. It was a mom and two dads. And I didn't trust that they were strong enough to help me up, and I didn't trust that I was strong enough to help them help me up. And so after about 10 minutes on the ground, one of the dads said, okay, we can't leave you sitting here. So if we can't help you, if you won't let us help you, we have to call emergency services to help get you
Mhm.
up. And I said, I won't do that. Like I was already feeling just horrible that this happened across the street from my kid's school. And what if their classmates saw and the windows look out to the street? And, I always said I didn't want my kids to endure anything at school because of me or their shame of having me come to the school. Kids can be absolutely brutal.
Mhm.
And so I remembered I had a bench in my trunk, the trunk of my car, because I always carried seating because a lot of the seating couldn't accommodate me. And so I gave a stranger my keys to my car and said, I have a bench. If you can get that, I think I can help get myself up. And so that's what happened. And I was at the bank, and there was a woman that was standing in line that was, you know, very many years my senior, and she saw what happened, and she told me, "Go in front of me. It's okay." And I was like, "This is not okay. I shouldn't be cutting you in line because you feel more capable than me." Um, I was I was appreciative, and it was like one of the lowest moments. So in that moment, I went to my kid's dojo and told the owner of the dojo, I was like, "I need help."
Mhm. And it's like
And I
acknowledging
began,
that, like, it got to the point where there was too much shame and too much pain that you decided that it needed to change, and you reached out to
yeah,
someone else. Yeah, I love that.
yeah, I reached out to them, and I knew that the pain of what had just happened couldn't be had to be the worst. It couldn't be worse than the pain of starting. And so I started personal training, and a video was put out, and that video went viral. And with that video going viral, there were just messages pouring into my inbox of women saying, "Thank you for showing me you doing this in a body that looks like mine. I've
Mhm.
never seen anybody do these things in a body that looks like mine. And the messages that we receive are that we can't, that we should be bedbound, that we're not worthy, that we're not strong, that we're not capable." And I said to myself, it's kind of like that classroom situation where nobody has any questions until the first person is brave enough to raise their hand. And then when that person raises their hand, they usually ask a question that at least five other people have, but they just didn't have the courage to raise their hand. And then the questions keep coming because that one person, stepped out and said, "I'm going to raise my hand." And in that moment, I realized, as alone as I felt, I really wasn't alone. And how many women were hiding and felt unseen and unheard and not worthy and not deserving and not capable because there was nobody stepping out and raising their hand. And I did not want to be a public figure. I did not want to live my life. My family, I lived in California, they were in Kansas. My family and friends didn't even know how much weight I had gained because I was hiding.
Right.
So I
And,
had to know
avoiding,
that
like,
my
posting pictures or having the angles or having everything else. I
oh,
know
I
that
had
I
the perfect cat girl selfie angle down, like to
Mhm.
mask all the things, right? Um, but in that moment, I knew that I had a responsibility because I didn't want anybody else to suffer the way I did, um, unnecessarily,
Mhm.
because there are millions of us women and men in this same position, and we are discounted by society because of false narratives in media. We are discounted by medical professionals. We are discounted all the way around by our family, our friends, and ourselves. And I was like, how can I not show what this really looks like and help encourage someone else who is feeling the way I felt?
I think there's so much that you hit on about feeling alone, feeling shame, and, I've been all sorts of different sizes, not where you were, but I can relate to the feeling that as an addiction, to food that I've struggled with, my weight has fluctuated a lot, and it's not something that's acknowledged, and the most difficult thing is almost every family gathering, every holiday, everything is based, at least in my family, around food and community and what we're gonna have for refreshments, and, if someone had, and I've struggled with other addictions, and people will acknowledge, "Okay, you don't drink alcohol," or not having a drug-free environment, or not smoking, or all of those other things that are perceived as being more acceptable for an addiction, but they don't really recognize that when it comes to food, that
No,
I
they
I felt
don't.
unseen. I felt unseen until I was, an acceptable size, or that I could
Mhm.
shop at a normal department store, and that's everyone needs to be seen and heard, and feeling unseen, like you talked about, is a tremendous important thing for us.
Yeah, it is. And you said that you hit on something, and it's something that was said to me, and I know it's been said to numerous people, and it's so incredibly unfortunate. In the beginning of my journey, I had typically had a fairly decent way of eating. Like, I was not the fried food, soda person, like all of that. The things that they tell you to cut out when they're like, the doctors are like, okay, you need to, yeah, that wasn't me. However, I did fall into some unhealthy patterns in my marriage. And when I went to my husband and told him, this is this is where I'm at. I can't stay here, and this is the support I need from you. I need you to stop bringing this stuff into the house so that
Mhm.
I can reach my goals. His response to me was, "Your lack of willpower is not my problem."
Right, so it's like enabling
And
that behavior like anyone else.
it is. And thankfully for me, that was my breaking point where I was like, oh, we're supposed to be in a partnership. And so this is showing me that we're not in a partnership. So I have to take care of me. And I chose some really drastic steps. I put a mini refrigerator. I bought a mini refrigerator and a microwave and put it in my room so that I could keep all my healthy food in my room and did not have to go upstairs to feed myself so I could avoid the temptation. But not everybody has those options. Not everybody has the accessibility to be able to do that, right? And so I definitely count myself privileged to be able to do that. But it is you wouldn't say that to someone that had a struggle with alcohol or any other type of drug or any other type of addictive behavior. You would not say that. But with food, and not even just with food, but with people of size, that is the sentiment is that your problem is not my problem.
And you're
Like the way
lazy, you can't possibly be healthy, you're not disciplined, how dare you? You've brought this on yourself, and,
exactly.
there is just so much judgment and shame around that, and we talk about, being inclusive of people of all different, abilities and, uh, racial backgrounds, religions, sexual orientation, but when it comes to, um people of non-traditional body sizes, or not even non-traditional, larger than what is
Mhm.
perceived as normal, that is still a huge issue in my opinion.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. And, that's what led to me taking other steps in my business, like an event that I had called Dear Skinny Friend Live, because we are marginalized in that way, right? And we're not, the world is not inclusive for us, and almost feels like we should be ashamed for asking for those same privileges, right?
Mhm. Definitely. And but I love how you've taken that challenge and used your story and who you are to be able to empower other people to do something to be able to change their circumstance. Has that been a difficult process for you?
Uh, yes and no. So the yes part is getting people to understand, people that have not ever had that experience. There was a lot of backlash, thoughts that I'm proselytizing or trying to, Um, however, for me, it was a very easy. I think it's just because of my life experience, and so we hear these stories, and of course, like you asked how this started, and I tell you about falling, but really this started when I was 8 years old, and I was a chubby little kid. I'm from the Midwest. My whole family, with the exception of maybe three family members, were people of size, varying sizes. And I said, I want to be a cheerleader. And I made my mom take me to cheerleading tryouts, and I tried out. And could I jump the highest? Absolutely not. And did I care? I sure did not. And I gave it my all. When I was 14, I was on the drill team, and um, the I went to a non-traditional high school, and the girls on the drill team wanted to purchase tennis skirts for our performances. They found them in a catalog. I'm going to date myself. They found them in a catalog called Eastway that had all these sporting goods and t-shirts and all that. And there was me and one other girl of size on the team, and the skirts didn't go up to our size. And so they told us that we couldn't be on the team. Like, they had a meeting by themselves and then called us in. And I went home and told my mom what happened. And I called another girl on the team that I felt I had a connection with. We weren't really friends at the time. She was much, 4 years, almost 4 years older than me. And I asked her, I said, my mom told me to call you and ask you if we could borrow your skirt. And she was like, yeah, let me ask my mom. And so her mom was like, sure. And so my mom took her skirt, and we went to the fabric store, and we matched the color of the skirt. And my mom being a seamstress, I'm a seamstress, my mom made me and the other girl skirts. And we showed up in school in our skirts, and we're like, now what? Tell us we can't be a part of the team
I'm
now.
gonna remove this, obstacle and barrier. You're saying that I don't fit into the clothes, I'm gonna make the clothes. I have
Correct.
the ability to be able to be there and
Absolutely.
show up. What happened?
They allowed us to be on the team, and me and the girl were front and center during our performances, because then it came down to skill. And we had the skill, it was just the optics, right? And so this has been a theme of my life, that I am privileged enough that I had parents and family that never made me feel like I could not do because of anything, because of my race, because of my size, because of my socioeconomic background. Like, there was no obstacle that I could not overcome. I just had to find a solution to whatever it was that I was trying to do. And so this is that advocacy, self advocacy, and then advocacy for others has been ingrained in me. I remember working at Sears at 15, and we were closing, and a mom came to the register, crying. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what's wrong? And my daughter is in the kids section. She has picture day tomorrow. We can't find any clothes to fit her. I don't know what to do. I don't want her to go to school not feeling pretty. And I was like, don't worry about it. She was like, the only thing that will fit her is over here in the women's sizes. I said, no, that's not correct. And I took her to the junior plus size, and we found $300 worth of clothes. I spent an extra hour, did not shut down the store, and her baby and her walked away feeling empowered and seeing the possibilities. Like, this has been a theme for me. So, for someone, you asked if it was difficult. For me, that wasn't the difficult part. Advocating for myself and advocating for others wasn't the difficult part. It was having the conversations and letting people that have never been in these experiences understand that I'm not trying to make excuses and I'm not trying to berate you for your experiences. If anything, I want you to see that even though our experiences look completely different, we have very similar feelings. And on a granular level, we do have a lot of the same experiences. And so the things that make us most different really are the things that make us most alike. And at the end of the day, we are all humans living this human experience, and we all deserve respect, and we all deserve to be seen, heard, and understood.
Oh, I love that. And Christine says that she loves that. Such an empowering moment that lasts a lifetime. And I'm over here bawling my head off. And I told you beforehand, and you know me personally, that I'm a crier because I'm going to let my emotions out. Now I'm trying not to do the ugly cry because I'm on camera. But I've been in that dressing room, and I wrote about that. And that was a blog post I had that went viral, that I am my way, that, how that struggle with my weight has impacted my life and my image of myself, and standing in front of the mirror and having the person, they didn't have a junior plus section, saying to
Yeah.
me, I'm sorry, there's nothing that fits her. I know that she wants to go to school. I know that she wants to look good on picture day, because that's what it was, first day of school and picture
Mm.
day. Um, but I'm sorry, we can't serve you here. You don't fit what we want to be able to do. And the shame that went around that. And my mom is tiny, and
Mhm.
she feels like, oh my gosh, I've gained weight, now that I'm older and everything like that, but she's still petite and cute and beautiful. And so then there was that whole comparison issue that I had of having this thin, beautiful, wonderful mother who never judged me for my size or shape. But there's a lot of issues that go along with that. um
Yeah.
we and I believe, as we shift the way that we look, that it brings up all of the reasons. And when you quit any sort of addiction, you have to face, why did I do this thing in the first place?
Right.
And usually therapy is involved. At least it was for me too. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. 'Cause,
yeah.
yeah. And I don't think as parents we understand um, how, especially those of us that grew up in the 80s, 70s, 60s, like the things that the messaging that we bring into the house, or the things that we say to ourselves, how much it impacts our babies, which is one of the reasons why I began this journey of being very, very mindful of the things that I say about myself, to myself, and out loud.
Hmm. Hmm.
You'll never hear me make a mistake and say, "Oh, Jasmine, that was so stupid. Oh, you're so dumb," because
Those are
my kids
garbage
take
words in my
that
house.
home.
Yep, yep,
Yeah,
the
and
stupid or dumb or anything like that. And when I've, I said, I'm choosing to eat more healthy to nourish my body right now. I don't use
absolutely,
the word
absolutely.
diet because I hate it. And, I went to my first nutritionist at 12, because there was like an incident in sixth grade, that triggered that with, my teacher making fun of me for what I was eating and everything like that. So, it's a whole thing, and as I've seen my children, I know you bring up an important point. You're on social media. You've built a brand, a following, a membership. You're absolutely fantastic. I've taken one of your classes about viral videos, because you've had multiple videos go viral, and set up a formula to be able to help other people be able to do that. How do you balance being a mom and having kids, and what it looks like to be a public figure if your child doesn't want to be?
Well, it's first and foremost, I absolutely honor and respect my children's right to choose. Um, while I say I didn't choose this, I did make the decision to move forward with it, and that was my choice. And from the beginning, I have involved them in the conversation. So I've shown them, hey, mom had this video go viral. What do you think? Mom is thinking about doing X, Y, and Z. How do you feel about that? Even down to the first photo that I had to go have had that went viral, which was crop top sweatshirt photo. My kids were there when I took the photo, and I asked them, "Do you mind if I post it? How will you feel if I post it?" So for me, it's really having those conversations and then allowing them to make the decisions for themselves. about how they want to show up if they want to show up, and then honoring that. So I have one child that absolutely loves what I'm doing on social, and he supports it, and he wants nothing to do with social media.
Right.
Even his own social media account is only memes. He doesn't show his face. He's like, yep, I don't want to be on social. And so I honor that. I don't bring him on my videos. I don't show pictures of him.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, and I've made him that promise. And if he changes his mind, then he'll show up. My daughter, on the other hand, she wants to be in all the lives. She wants to show up. She wants to do the unboxing. She wants to do the TikTok challenges with me. And so I allow her to. My number one concern with them is their safety
Yep.
and honoring their choices and decisions. So,
Right. And I think that Christine is asking a great question when we talked about being a mother. Once in a while, my daughter makes comments on her weight and size. What's the best way to navigate this? And she often, replies that I'm her mom, so, and that she'd be nice to be able to be supportive of that.
yeah. So, you know, one of the things that I practice in my house is something that you touched on a moment ago, Jen, which is the languaging and making sure that as we're talking about size and diet and all of that, that we're using the terms the way they are meant to be used. So when we talk about diet, we're not talking about going on a diet. We are talking about the foods that you consume. In my house, I have stressed the fact that food has no moral compass.
There's
And so
not
there
good
are no
food
good
and
and bad
bad
food.
food. There's just food.
No,
Exactly.
there's just food. And what are your goals? And is that food in alignment with your goals? And those goals don't have to be and are not weight related. For in my house, it's health and performance related. When it comes to body and body image, having these conversations first, again, watching what they are picking up from you. And sometimes it can be the most subtle things, like looking at an old picture and saying, oh gosh, I remember when I looked like that.
Oh, I'm going to unmute you real quick. You got it. Okay, there you are. You said
You
you were
might,
looking at an old picture.
right, you're looking at an old picture and you might look at that picture from when you were in high school and say, oh my gosh, like how many of us have said this post kids? Oh my gosh, I remember when I looked like that and I thought I was fat. I wish that I could go back to that size. Well, what are you saying about yourself now then? And kids
Mm-hmm.
pick up on this. Kids pick up on those littlest things. And even if that's not the conversations that you're having, if they are still in this space of struggle, number one, understanding, of course, there's outside resources that play a huge part in their image and how they're showing up and how they feel. And really working to surround them with positive images, with positive conversation, and then having a real conversation with them about the fact that, yes, everybody has things that they look at in themselves physically and internally that they might not be completely happy with. And it's okay to say, I am not satisfied with this. Look at why you're not satisfied. Is it because of something someone is telling you, or is it because of an internal feeling that you have? And then what are ways to, in a healthy way, set goals for yourself to get to a space where you feel good,
Oh,
right?
I love that because I've been there, not just not about my weight, but about the Botox.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt the pressure because I was in all of these meetings with younger people. I've got the high definition camera. I'm like, I need to look younger and, I'm going to get the Botox. And I said, don't just, as long as it doesn't change my smile, that's, the red lipstick, my signature look, and my
Right.
face drooped. I did it
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to be perceived differently physically. I was going to be doing all these different video series and it didn't. It had the opposite effect of what I wanted, and that's when I realized, I don't mind having a nip, a tuck, a pluck, whatever is going to make you feel better, but for me, I realized this is not the thing, and that was the universe telling me, Jen, no.
Yep.
It's okay if you've got the 11 right here. It does not change who you are as a person.
Yeah, and you needed to experience that. Like, there's no shame in having that experience. And you needed to have that experience to then be able to say, oh, you know what? I reserve the right to change my mind. I thought this is what I wanted, and now I realize it's not, and that's okay. And now I'm good with where I'm at, right? That's a
Oh, I
part of
love that.
that's part of life. Yeah, and growth.
So, Jasmine, I loved the conversation that we've had today. It went a different direction than I thought, but I know it's what I needed to hear today. And I'm sure that there are other people out there that needed who you are, because we can hear the same message, but when we hear it from someone that it really resonates, that's when it has the most power. How can people follow you and get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can find me on social media. I'm jasmin.r.murphy or Jasmin R. Murphy on Instagram, both. So it depends on if you want to come for health and wellness or social media or both. Feel free to follow. Build Your Strong on YouTube and my website, jasminmurphy.com. So those are the main places to connect with me.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Um,
Thank you. It's been an absolute honor.
oh, thank you. I just wanted to remind you that your voice has value. Your message has meaning and you deserve to be seen and heard. I've built a community of entrepreneur women to be able to empower you to show up with more authenticity online like Jasmine does. You can find out more about that at cringeforward.com. Our membership is $9 a month, and it's a way that you can be able to show up online to be able to help your presence and have that encouragement, support, to be able to know that what you do is important just based on who you are. I can't wait to be able to see you next week. I'm going to have my friend LaKendra here to be able to speak a little bit more about her life coach school and what's inspired her to help millions of people become certified life coaches around the world. Thank you. And just remember, no matter how difficult it is, what you're going through right now, your voice has value, your message has meaning, and you deserve to be seen and heard. Cringe forward, friends.